Hi, this is Dr. Dana Nakshu, Medical Creations Integrated Medicine, and I'm here with my good friend Maria Angelova, who is the founder and the owner of Rebellious International, a company who is all about lifestyle changes and wellness. And it's about Pilates, but not only about that, but also about essential
Aromatherapy,
oils,
that's right.
aromatherapy, and she's a big fan of that. And she's been doing this amazing classes for my patients for now a long time. And today I invited her to record this class with me because my patients have been loving these classes, but I know for some of them, unfortunately, it's been difficult to make it here. So I don't want them to miss this great information because I'm gonna use the essentials with them. So I wanted them to at least be able to see these recordings, and then when I'm gonna handle the samples, they will have this information. So it will help me and you guys kind of have that basic information. So we'll be able to continue the discussion and be able to go a little bit more details.
Deeper.
Yeah. So that's why we're here. And then I'm gonna let her do the talking, but I'm just gonna, if I have some questions or if I'm gonna help clarify certain things or some questions that I heard from my patients, of course I will interfere. But we'll mostly focus, just so you guys know, we'll focus today on the basics, and we do use a specific brand of oils, but doesn't mean that you're gonna have to use the same thing, but we just want you to know how to choose a safe oil, how to use it for you and your family. And I think it's important to know that because not just for whatever brought you to my practice today, but also for whatever life might bring in the future, or even for as a prevention, right? Just think about what's happening today, right? It's now it's winter. We just happen to have a virus threat in our community this day, so it's good to have something, just another tool to help you prevent that. So that being said, just
we should get going.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
get going. So,
Let's get going.
like Dr. Dana said, this is going to cover the basics. We're going to start with, first of all, what are essential oils, right? A lot of people, I think nowadays, essential oils have become a little bit more common. Back when I started them, not everybody was using essential oils. But essential oils is the best way I like to describe it. Is if you take a leaf of a plant and you break it, usually there is juice that comes out. That's the essential oil of the plant, right? And essential oils can come from different parts of the plant. They come from the root, they can come from the bark, they can come from the leaf, from the blossom, depending on what plant it is and where they're sourcing the oil from. So they say that the essential oils are basically the blood of the plant, right? Because that is what is carrying the nutrients in the plant, okay? Now, purity, very, very, very important topic to address, especially today, because the market is saturated with essential oils. I mean, you go to Walmart, you go to Target, it's full of essential oils. But how do you make sure that you pick a pure essential oil? Because that is what you want. Most of the essential oils on the markets are synthetic, which means they're not pure essential oils, or they're diluted, which means that they're not as potent. And when I say diluted, they put different ingredients in them because it's cheaper, right?
The same problem with the supplements. Unfortunately, they're not as regulated.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and actually, that's a great point. While you say that, as you're chiming in, if something pops to head, I'll just address it. Essential oils are not approved by the FDA because they're not medications, right? The interesting thing to think about is that actually medications, a lot of the medications, and you can talk about that, Dr. Dana, is they are actually mimicking natural ingredients, right? They're just the synthetic version of a natural ingredient. So if you think of essential oils, you want the pure juice that comes from the plant. You don't want anything else in there.
Right.
Another thing about purity is you might get an essential oil that is 100% pure, but there is a lot of factors that go into the potency of an oil. So for example, the type of climate that it grew up in, again, this depends depending on what plant it is. Does it need to be humid? Does it need to be dry? Does it need to be sunny? Does it need to be shady? The temperature, so you want exact temperature. The time of the day that the plant is harvested. So some plants need to be harvested in the morning, sometimes midday, sometimes at night, again, depending on the plant. You want to make sure that when the juices of the oils, the essential oils, are taken out of the plant, you get the best quality essential oil taken. That is what the company that we use, Young Living, they have partnerships with farms all around the world, because not every plant can grow under the same conditions. You want to make sure that you have purity, you want to make sure that you have potency. Now, when we're addressing the topic of purity.
So you're saying, so basically it means that even though you might get the rights, just the oil from the plant, if the plant is not harvested under the right circumstances or the right timing, you're still not getting
the best
thing. It's like you have, people would try to get the best wine from the grapes, but the grapes
Yes.
are not.
That's actually a perfect example.
The right soil, you're still
Mhm.
not getting the right
That's
wine.
exactly right.
Right?
And then, even during distillation process,
Mhm.
for example, the essential oils are very fragile oils, right? They have natural constituents, I can never pronounce that word correctly, but natural chemical makeup. It's a natural chemical makeup, right? It's not chemical, it's made up synthetic chemical. In order for that natural chemical consistency to bring the potencies that we need, if you expose the oils to, for example, heat, that gets destroyed. So during the distillation process, you want to make sure that the temperature that the oils are exposed to is just perfect, because if it's too high, if it's too low, it might destroy the potency of the plant.
Right. So it's a whole
So
science.
it's a science. It's not, some people say, oh, I make my own essential oils. No doubt you can do that. But are you going to get one a pure and a potent essential oil? So I love to use the Young Living, which is again the company that we use, their seed to seal process, and actually tell people, even if you don't plan to use Young Living essential oils, just find their seed to seal process and look for the type of things that fall under the seed to seal process. Seed. So we start with the seed itself. What they do is they ensure that the seed is not polluted, so to say, right? It hasn't been subjected to herbicides, pesticides, any of these chemicals that can destroy the naturalness of the plant, right? Now we hear a lot of GMO modifications and things like that. Even if you are on pure land, if there is, crops that are being next door sprayed with chemicals and pesticides and things like that, all of that can pollute your own soil, right? Or through the hydration of the soil that can float underground.
Right.
So you want to make sure that the seed that you start with is a pure seed. Then you want to make sure that when you harvest, again, weeds are not killed by spraying chemicals, because that goes inside the plant. So what Young Living does, which is actually a big part of what explains the price difference for premium oils, is they do all of the harvesting by hand. So can you imagine like humongous acres and acres of land that the weeds have to be picked up by hand versus sprayed. You can avoid when you spray, of course it's going to get to the plant, right? So the harvesting, then like I already talked about, the distillation, you want to make sure that it's the right temperature, the right amount of time. A lot of times to make it cheaper, what happens is the distillation process is at very high temperatures and very quick. Well, that destroys the potency of the essential oil. The other thing is you want to make sure that the distillation happens either in stainless steel or in glass containers, because if there is plastic, the chemicals from the plastic can bleed or can leach into the essential oils, and then the essential oil gets polluted. So distillation, then the testing. So for example, Young Living does their own internal testing, but they also send it to third parties so that they can do the testing for the purity and make sure that the oils are not polluted. And then the bottling process. Young Living does their own bottling. What a lot of manufacturers do, they source the oils, they take their own label, they put them in the bottle, and they just label them to whatever their brand is, right? So they don't have a thorough process to ensure purity and potency. And that's why when people say, well, why am I paying, let's say, lavender $25 versus I can get it for $5? You need to think of, in order to receive a truly potent, pure oil, it takes a lot of work and a lot of investments and a lot of science. It's not as easy as take a plant, squeeze the juice out, and you have essential oil, right?
So are there any specific labels that people should or can look for?
Yes, when you look at the label, and I'll tell you, I've seen this in stores, there's a big sign that says natural essential oils, or and when you read the label on the back of the bottle or the container, you have a list that's this long. So that's always a flag. If you see an essential oil on the back of the label, you see anything that says fragrance, scent, perfume, that means it's synthetic, and you definitely don't want that. Now, if it does say pure, and it's only the name of the plant and it's in Latin because that says it's a pure essential oil, look into the company. There is now a lot of, I've seen them, I'm not going to mention brands, but I've seen it where they say pure essential oils. Go to their website and look for, well, like I said, the different steps, control processes that they have to ensure the purity. And I'll tell you that for most companies, you will not find any information about their sourcing processes. It just says pure, but if you want to know, well, what did you do to ensure it's pure, you will not find information. So read the label, and then to go to the website and research what are the processes that they undertake to ensure purity. So for example, Young Living, they do partner with farms, third-party farms that don't belong to them, but what they do is they ensure that the processes that they follow are followed by the same farm. So they reinforce the same process, and when they do the testing and all of that, it goes through Young Living.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's important to kind of
It's very, this
do
is,
your own research.
potency
whatever
and
you buy.
purity, super important, because
Right.
what a lot of people do, they go to essential oils to get something natural and clean, and instead they start putting chemicals into their bodies, which is exactly what they're trying to get
Right.
away from.
Okay.
So very, very important.
Sure.
Now let's talk about why do we use essential oils, right? A lot of people use essential oils just because they smell good, and they say, well, I put them on
Which I
and
think it's a great.
it is a great idea, right?
I love
But
that.
a lot of people don't really think about the
more than that, way
therapeutic
more than
properties that they have.
Yes.
So benefits, they support the different systems that we have. So the immune system, the endocrine system, the respiratory system, you get the picture. They support our emotional and mental well-being. They can be used for physical activity. They can be used for cleaning products, making your own do-it-yourself cleaning products. They have a huge implication. They can be used to flavor food. They can be used to make your own perfume. I mean, the list just keeps going and going and going. Once again, you want to use something pure. And a lot of people get confused. So the essential oils have quite a learning curve. And I think that's what intimidates a lot of people, because they get them and they're like, what do I do with it now? So there are 3 ways to use essential oils, and depending on the oil, some oils you can use all 3 ways, some oils you can use in 1 or 2 ways.
Right.
But let's talk a little bit about that. And let's start with what we talked about. They go into the air, they smell good. The best way to do is to get a diffuser, right? Diffusers, you want to make sure that you get an ultrasonic diffuser. You don't want to get, some people ask, can I use a humidifier for essential oils? You can, but remember, the humidifier, there is heat that's coming up, right? So the heat can actually destroy the potency of the oil, the therapeutic effect of the oil. Also, oils, and specifically citrus oils, they eat the plastic. So you don't want to put them in plastic that would degrade with the use of the oils, and then you're smelling all of that, right? So Young Living does use plastic, but for example, they use hospital grade plastic. So what I do now in the stores, many stores sell diffusers. I'll go and I'll literally knock on the plastic to see how sturdy it is, and most of it is very flimsy, very lightweight plastic. You do not want that. So diffusing, you put oil in the diffuser, and then you put the essential oils to that, you turn it on, and what happens?
Put water.
What did they say? Oil.
Oil.
You do not put oil, you put water.
water.
Thank you for
Yes.
catching me on that. You put just water, you
And
put the
just
essential oil, you turn it on, and what happens is there is a metal plate under the bottom of the diffuser that starts vibrating really fast. And actually, there is steam that comes up, but if you put your hand over the steam, it's not hot steam, right? Which is very interesting. People are like, oh, this is not hot, and it's for the reason that I explained. Now, another way you can do is you can just take the bottle. This is an example of peppermint. And just take a nice deep breath from it. You can also, if you don't have a diffuser, you can I put it on a cotton swab. And like you can put it next to your pillow. Sometimes you can drip it on your pillow, but just a disclaimer, don't stain your pillows, right? So basically what you want to do is you want to get the oils to go through your olfactory system, which is through your nose, and they go to the brain. And in the brain, they impact the limbic system, which is the system that controls emotions and hormones. And that is how oils support things such as sleep, such as, give me examples like appetite, such as hormonal balance, such as endocrine system, and so forth. Any example of that. The second way is topically, and I always point here because I love to put essential oils here. You basically apply them on the skin. The skin has pores. The oils go through the pores into the bloodstream, and the blood carries them throughout the body. It is very interesting that the oils actually go to the cells that need them. So it's very interesting. People might start using an oil for X, and all of a sudden they're like, my Y got better. Because the oils, it fascinates me, they go to the right place. Now the oils, the molecules of the oils, and actually the reason why essential oils smell much better than, for example, olive oil, right? It doesn't have that heavy, potent smell. It's because the essential oils molecules are super small. They're so small that I can actually go through the membranes of the cells and penetrate the cell membranes, and actually they act at the cellular level. So I pointed here, you can literally apply them on any part of your body. The feet are a very common place to apply essential oils because the skin on the feet is rougher, harder. So if, for example, your skin is sensitive or you're using a hot oil, which we'll address in a couple of minutes, it doesn't cause as much sensitivity. At the same time, the feet are very porous. So the skin there has a lot of pores that the oils can go through. And I'm sure most people are aware of acupressure points on the feet. You can actually apply the oils to the acupressure points that correspond to different organs in the body. So for example, some people are very sensitive to smell and they cannot apply anything around their face, or kids, for example, right? You don't want them to, let's say, touch their neck and then touch their eye and the eye starts burning.
Right.
So for kids, you can put essential oils on the feet, put socks on, and you're done, right? Another common place is here. The skin here is very, very thin, so everything goes through very quickly. The one thing is the skin here is very sensitive though. So I'll talk about patch testing, but that's when you can do the patch testing. And then another common place that I personally like to apply oils is behind the ears into this area because it's not as close to the nose, it's out of the way. So again, you don't want to touch yourself and touch your eyes, something like that, and then get an irritation. So that's the topical way. And then the third way is some of the oils, not all of the oils, can be taken internally. They can be ingested. For all of the three types of use, once again, I'll heavily emphasize purity, but especially if you're planning to consume oils, right? You don't want to put chemicals inside your body. But just keep in mind that just because you put it on your skin does not mean it doesn't go inside your body. It will still go, it's just a different pathway that it follows. So anything on that? 3 ways to use.
I think I would say sometimes what I do when, for example, my daughter has some congestion. Again, with kids, it's not easy to convince them to use oil, especially when she was little. I would just let the hot water run in the shower, and then when you get enough steam, I'll just drop a bit of peppermint in the hot shower. So that creates a lot of creates some
it's the aroma.
The aroma. Or you can do like the old-fashioned way. You have a bowl of hot water, really, I mean, as much as or as comfortable as you have with that hot steam, and you drop the peppermint oil. Then you cover your head with a towel. I mean, again, as close as you can.
This can start burning into the eyes. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. So as close as some people are
more sensitive.
And that helps with the congestion and the eucalyptus.
Yes, eucalyptus
actually is good for that as well.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think the internal actually ingesting the oils, it's kind of a controversial topic for a lot of people. I heard a lot of people being kind of scared of that, and a lot of the aromatherapist practitioners are also warning against that. So I think, but that's a a little bit of a topic for other conversation. Again, not all of the oils are meant for that, and you want to be very careful, and you definitely use a small
for any of the usage
amount, of course.
Whether you diffuse, when you get the potent oil, 1 drop of oil goes a very long way.
Correct.
And on that topic, I lost my train of thought. Yes, there's a lot that goes into consuming an oil. Again, purity, how much do you consume, if you're taking medications. Just because they're pure, remember, they're also potent, right? So I always tell people use common sense. I think there is also a misconception that the best way an oil would work is if you take it internally, and that is not necessarily the case.
Of course.
And also the way oils work, depending on the body chemistry. For example, Dana might use the same, Dr. Dana might use one oil topically, and I might use the same oil for the same thing, and I might diffuse it. For her, topically might work better than for me diffusing it, right? So it just depends person to person, and that's where the experimentation comes in. And you kind of have to play to see what works with your body chemistry. And I'll also tell you that your body chemistry changes over time. So the way one thing worked might change. And you might love the smell of an oil, and all of a sudden you don't like the smell of an oil.
Sure.
And also going back to the topic of alternative ways to use, for example, if I'm putting oil to support my thyroid gland, I'll drop it on where the organ is, right? If I'm applying an oil for my daughter's digestive system, I rub it around her belly button clockwise. So these things, people become like, oh my gosh, how do you know all that? They become more intuitive the more you use them. There's a general rule, 3 ways. Yeah? All right, let's keep diving in. Let's talk about carrier oil. So frequently hear the terms use neat or use diluted. I know in the beginning I was like, what does that mean? Neat means you do not have to dilute it with a carrier oil. And then diluted means you have to dilute it with a carrier oil. Why? Because some oils are so potent. Some of them are actually called hot oils, which means they can cause skin sensitivity. And you don't want to do that. Now, why carrier oils and not water? The intuitive thing for people to think is I dilute with water. Think about mixing water and let's say olive oil. They do not mix, right? It doesn't become a homogeneous liquid. One floats on top, one floats on the bottom. So oil and water do not mix. You want to mix oil with oil. So essential oils mix with carrier oils or vegetable oils such as olive oil, coconut oil. What's your favorite? Almond. I love jojoba. Avocado oil. I mean, you get the picture. Any kind of oil that you like. I always suggest to people use a pure carrier oil. So if you're using a high quality essential oils, you don't want to mix it with garbage. So if you can get something that's organic, something that's not as processed, something that's cold processed, right? So that you're mixing quality stuff with quality stuff. You mix them in terms of dilution, which is how much you mix. Usually you can start with some of the common oils 1-to-1. That means 1-to-1 means 1 drop of essential oils to 1 drop of carrier oil. I will tell you that over time, as you become more comfortable with the oils, you're not going to do, I was like very precise 1 and 1. Now I just put a little bit of olive oil, put a drop or 2 of essential oil, mix it up and do whatever I want to do with it, or even like if you want to cup, right? But it's your choice. There is a whole science that goes behind carrier oils. We're not going to talk about that in terms of choosing a suitable carrier oil depending on what you're using them for. But just know we mix essential oils with carrier oils. If you ever happen to let's talk about the patch test, right? So some people can be sensitive to essential oils, and you can do a patch test just like you would do a patch test with other products, right? You place a drop of essential oil on the inside of the forearm. Like I said, this is a very sensitive area, and you watch for a reaction. Usually the reaction will show up in 5 to 10 minutes. For some people it could take a little bit longer, but let's say you apply an oil and you get a little rash or it starts burning, apply carrier oil, right? Don't go rinse it under the water because the water dries the essential oil inside the skin. Apply carrier oil. When people first start using the oils, I always tell them they are natural, but they are potent. So don't open the box and start covering yourself head to toe with essential oils, right? Start 1 by 1 and start testing. Smell it first, Is your body allowing you to take a nice deep breath, or is your body like, I don't like that? Little things, right? Then put a drop. See, is your body reacting to that? Maybe start on the feet. If you see, okay, this is good, put it on the feet, especially for young kids. So essential oils are not recommended for kids, especially under 6 months old, because they're so little. So if people decide to use essential oils at that age, maybe it's some of the very mild oils like lavender in the diffuser, 1 drop, open the doors of the room so that it's not as concentrated. You'll be surprised, even if you put a drop or 2 in a diffuser in a small room, you walk out of the room and come back, how potent the
That's
smell
right.
is. And if you overdo it, it might actually give you a headache, because what's happening is the cells are getting overloaded. You know, they still need to process them. They're natural, but your body still needs to process them. So start slowly. In the diffuser, I usually do 2 to 3 drops, even in my house.
Yes.
Unless I have like a big event and I really want it to smell. But somebody was telling me they used 11 drops in the diffuser. I was like, whoa, that's too much. And
You
that,
could have a big house.
yeah, maybe. But you don't want a small room like the size of this office. I would do maybe a drop, max
Yes.
2,
Yeah.
because it's going to become unpleasant. As pleasant as an oil it might smell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hot oils, so I already mentioned that hot oils are oils that can cause skin sensitivity. Oils such as, for example, for some people, peppermint is a hot oil because it causes coldness actually, but for some people it's too much. And it also depends. Usually the more fairer skins are the ones that are more sensitive. So it, like even between two of us, you might be sensitive to peppermint and I may not be. But oils such as, for example, cinnamon bark is an example of hot oil. Ginger is a hot oil. And again, you might be like, how do I know if it's a hot oil? You learn them over time, right? But if it causes skin sensitivity, apply carrier oil.
Mm-hmm. And by that, like, what exactly happens? How would I know? Like, is it pain? Is it redness?
It's redness. You know, it's pain, it's redness, it's uncomfortable. It's like a little rash that forms in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell you, my husband, he started consuming oils, and he was getting really bad upset stomach after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, if your body is reacting in such a way, your body is telling you, I don't like that. So he actually did allergy testing, and he found out that his number one allergy was clove. And he was taking clove. He was taking tips, which clove is one of the oils in. So you will know. And that's the other thing. Pay attention to your body. Don't say, well, I just got diarrhea today, you know. Pay attention to things like that. Be in touch with your body. Use common sense. One thing that this just reminded me very quickly, I just mentioned the word blend. So we have single oils, which means it's just oil from one plant. So for example, peppermint is an example of a single oil. And then we have blends, which are oils that are made up of multiple single plants. So for example, a famous Young Living blend is Thieves. We have like rosemary, eucalyptus, lemon, right? There is a bunch of oils that are put in that one oil.
Right.
So just terminology, something to be aware of. Sensitive areas. So you never put essential oils in your eyes, your nose, on your ears.
I would think that's yes.
Right. But just reminding you now, like I said, it has happened. Actually, it has happened to me. I have applied peppermint here. And it kind of slipped into my eyes.
That's true.
What do? You do not go wash it with water. Once again, reminder, you take a little bit, I keep using olive oil because that's what we cook with, and you rub it on top of your eye to dilute it. Yes. Photosensitivity. So some oils, and those are specifically the citrus oils, they cause photosensitivity, which means that they make your skin more sensitive to the sun. I will tell you, I decided to test it, and yes, they do make your skin very photosensitive. I don't know if I had told you about this.
I think you did, yes.
Yes, I burned so bad that I'll never do this again. I purposely decided to test it. And the rule is, if you use essential oils topically, don't go under the sun for 48 to 72 hours. I will tell you what I personally do, because it's easy to do and forget. During the summer, I do not use any citrus essential oils topically. That's just my rule. Sun comes out, stay out of it. You will burn, I promise you that. Don't think diluted, not
the citrusy?
It's mostly the citruses, yes, the grapefruit, orange, tangerine, bergamot. You know, ginger is one that's not a citrus, but ginger is one that causes photosensitivity. But pretty much if it's citrus one, you know, skip it, topical application for sunny months. We've been having so much rain, that most danger of that, right?
Right.
Okay, let's talk about children. So, like I said, children under 6 months, some of the very, very mild oils. Actually, if you have small kids, I highly recommend a book. It's called Gentle Babies, and it's fantastic. It talks about oils for during pregnancy and oils for babies, and also oils for moms who are breastfeeding to use, right? So the oils, they do go through, and if you're pregnant, yes, there is limitation on the oils to use, to not use. And I don't even want to address which ones to use. Not that's something that you address with your doctor and you get clearance from your doctor.
Right.
The same thing for small kids. There are several oils that are not recommended for kids under the age of 5, and those would be wintergreen. That one is actually not recommended for kids under the age of 12. Peppermint, rosemary, and actually eucalyptus. And now I would tell you the chances of something going wrong are it's very, very rare. However, I always like to tell people, just heads up. Now, along with that goes medical conditions, right? So once again, the oils are very potent. So people who have specific medical conditions such as, for example, epilepsy or seizures or, anything like that, get clearance from your doctor. Right. The oils are pure, but they are potent. Sure. And there is also some of the oils can interact with medication. So I always tell people, if you're on any hardcore medications, always get clearance from your doctor to make sure that they're not going to have counterindications. And again, I think that's better off not talked on video, but addressed with your physician. Yes. Oh my gosh, did we cover everything? That felt fast.
I think so.
Anything you can think of?
Well, no, I think what I wanted to make sure everybody understands it from now on, we're gonna start experimenting with some of the blends that she might have not mentioned, but with most of you, based on your particular condition, I've found it helpful to try probably one or two. I'll probably say it's going to be something for the gut, for the digestive tract, or something for the pain. It could be something for the muscle or the joint. It will be probably something for the stress or sleep. I also found myself trying something for the hormones, and I think probably the 5th on the list will be the one for the immunity. So these are probably the four or five areas that I usually try with most of my patients. So what happens? We will give you samples. For most of you, will be already prepared, diluted. So you just have to apply it, and then we will kind of regroup and see how you like them. What did you think about? You have a chance to, like I said, review our talk, and then you have questions, and I'll just encourage you to start, learning a little bit about the oils, and then whatever you find helpful and whatever helped you, I will tell you, most people love the one for the gut, and that's the one that
it's one of the best.
That's pretty much, I don't travel, especially with traveling, I don't go anywhere without it. And the one for the immunity, actually, is the one that I also use it, the same line I use it for the cleaning products. But based on what you find helpful for your medical condition, that's kind of what we start then build from there. Yes. And then, like I said, we kind of build
upon
and the toolbox for you, and have few things available in the future.
Yes.
But again, most people, I would think most people, that's kind of what they like to have available.
It's the common stuff that we all need, right?
Yeah. And then if anybody wants to learn more, then we have more classes. If you want to go on and learn a little bit more about this, it's really fascinating when you want to learn there. I mean, there's so many techniques, and if you want to learn how to combine, and
yes.
it's a
science, but it's fun.
Yes, it's fun.
And I think it's amazing.
Yes.
Again, I would encourage you to not be afraid to experiment.
Right.
Because that's when most people become intimidated and they're like, I don't know what to do with them. The more you experiment with them, the more comfortable you will feel with them, and then if you stay on top of them a couple of months. I know the first event I went to, and the lady was like, we'll use some for this, some for that, some for this, and I was like, how does she know all that? And now it becomes very intuitive. Let's use a little bit of that, a little bit of this, topical, diffuse, and so forth. So I encourage you to, especially Dr. Dennis giving you samples, play with them. Yeah. Yeah.
And then and then you learn to, like I said, how to discover what's good, what's bad, and learn to just figure out for yourself. So
Yes.
all right. Well, let us know if you have questions. Let me know if you have questions, and like I said, we'll figure out what works for you. So
Yes.
thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Maria.
Of course. Thank you for having me here. Bye, guys.
Bye.